The first thing I found at Greymoor Hold was a barn door bolted from the inside, and the second thing was why. I came in on a courier drone 3 days after the colony stopped answering its relay, suited to the eyes, carrying a sample case I'd been told to fill, and a burn order I'd been told to use if I had to. Quarantine protocol doesn't wait for confirmation. It waits for a silence longer than a storm should cause, and Greymoor Hold had gone past that marker on the second day. I walked the lower field first. The grass was the wrong color in patches, blackened in rings like something had knelt there and let go of heat. The herd was down, all of it, 40 head of contract livestock lying in postures cattle don't lie in, ribs opened from the inside, not the outside. I'd seen infection sites before. I'd never seen one this clean about its work. I found the colony's chief handler, Ressa Dunmore, in the milking shed with her sidearm still in her hand and nothing left in the chamber. She'd written on the wall in marker before she ran out of bullets and ideas. Not the accelerant. Ask what's in it. I photographed it, logged it, and kept moving because the protocol says document and proceed. And because if I'd stopped to think about what Ressa Dunmore had been asking with her last 6 rounds, I wouldn't have made it to the lab. The residential row was worse, and I won't put all of it down here. 341 names were on Greymoor Hold's contract roster, and by the time I'd finished my sweep of the houses, I understood why none of them had made it to the relay station to call for help themselves. Whatever had come up out of that herd hadn't given anyone the chance to run far. The pattern was the same in every structure, a point of entry low to the ground, a short violent radius, and then nothing like the thing responsible had finished its work and simply stopped existing. I didn't find a single body of the organism itself, just the proof of what it had done, repeated 41 times across a colony built to hold 341 people, and a contract everyone had been told would make their herds stronger. The lab told me everything Ressa hadn't lived long enough to prove. Greymoor Hold had signed an agricultural contract 18 months prior with a core combine subsidiary calling itself Pelion Genetics, a fertility accelerant, they'd called it, a compound to boost calving rates on a marginal colony that needed every advantage it could get. The samples in cold storage told a different story. The accelerant wasn't built to make calves grow faster. It was built to make something else grow inside them, dormant, until a trigger compound sprayed, supposedly, as a routine soil treatment 6 days before I arrived, woke it up all at once across the whole herd. 341 colonists had been standing in a field with no idea they were standing inside a weapons trial. I extracted a live culture under containment, sealed it, and called it in. Then I sat in the relay station with the burn order in my hand and did not use it, because the case in my lap was the only surviving evidence that Greymoor Hold had been murdered on purpose, and a colony that dies of an unexplained accident gets a memorial plaque. A colony that dies of a documented weapons test gets answered. 11 months. That's how long it took the Bioweapons Reclamation Division to turn what I'd carried out of that lab into something they could use. I sat through most of it from a debrief chair in a facility I was never told the name of, answering the same 6 questions from different officers until the questions stopped changing and started circling. They didn't need me to identify the strain. They'd had it under a microscope since week 1. They needed me to keep saying, on the record, in my own voice, what it had done to Ressa Dunmore and 340 other people who'd signed a contract for healthier cattle. I said it as many times as they asked. I never once said it the same way twice, because every time I said it I saw the wall of the milking shed again, and the words didn't get easier to look at. There was a stretch in the 4th month where I stopped being asked questions and started being shown things instead. Pelion Genetics' own internal filings, recovered from a relay node the Combine had assumed was secure, laid out across a table by an analyst who never once raised her voice while she did it. Field trial scheduling documents. Kill rate projections with Greymoor Hold's contract number listed under a column header that translated roughly to expected loss. A cost memo weighing the price of the colony's agricultural subsidy against the value of a clean data set, with a sign-off line and a date 11 days before Ressa Dunmore picked up her sidearm. I didn't need to be told what it meant. I'd already buried the meaning of it 41 times. What I learned, sitting through 11 months of that, is that hollow rot, the designation they'd given the strain, wasn't a finished weapon. It was a field trial. The Core Combine had built something that worked, watched it work on an isolated agricultural colony with no military presence and no allies close enough to ask questions, logged the kill rate, logged the time to symptom, logged the containment failure points, and filed it as a successful test. Greymoor Hold wasn't a tragedy to them. It was a data set. They'd planned to refine the delivery method and field it against a real target once the numbers were clean enough. A forward colony, a relay station, maybe Earth itself if the trial proved out at scale. They hadn't expected the trial to leave a witness with a sample case and a working set of legs. The Reclamation Division didn't build a cure. They built an answer. Hollow Rot's trigger compound had a structural flaw the Combine's own field notes hadn't caught, because the Combine had never had to survive an exposure to study it properly. Every test subject they'd ever logged had died before anyone could map the failure point from the inside. Earth's researchers had 341 case studies and a live culture and 11 months of grinding, methodical, unglamorous work, and they turned that flaw into a refined strain of their own, a strain built not to spread blind across an open colony but to seek, with total precision, anything carrying the Combine's own genetic signature markers. The thing they'd built to erase us without identifying itself now did the opposite. It found its makers and nothing else. I was in the observation gallery when the Wormhood fleet got its release order, because the tribunal had decided, without asking me, which was its right, that the man who carried Greymoor Hold's last evidence out in a sample case should be present when the case closed. 266 warships moved on the Core Combine's primary breeding and development world, a place called Hallow Vance in their own charts, where Pelion Genetics kept its real laboratories behind 3 layers of agricultural cover story. The fleet didn't open with weapons fire. It opened with 12 unmarked delivery pods, released into the upper atmosphere 4 hours ahead of the main approach, carrying the refined strain home to the only address it had ever been designed to find. By the time the bombardment order came through, it was close to formality. The strain had already moved through Hallow Vance's primary lab complex, through its breeding pens, through the executive levels where Pelion's directors had signed off on 18 months of agricultural cover paperwork. Without once setting foot on the colony they were field testing it against. The fleet's gun line held position for 6 hours, watching confirmation telemetry climb, before Admiral Ewan Castellan gave the order I'd been told, 11 months earlier, that I'd never get to hear in person. I heard it anyway, relayed live to the gallery. Full bombardment, surface installations only, civilian residential zones held clear by standing directive. The Combine's leadership and its weapons program erased with the same precision they'd tried to perfect on Ressa Dunmore's herd, while the families who'd had no hand in Pelion's contracts were given evacuation, windows the Combine had never offered Greymoor Hold. I asked Castellan afterward, in the only conversation I ever had with him, why he'd bothered with the windows. He said the trial they ran on us proved one thing they hadn't meant to prove, that the difference between us and them was never going to be the size of the fleet. It was going to be what we did with it once it arrived. I still have the sample case. It's empty now, logged and decommissioned, sitting in a box of things I haven't found a way to put down. Some nights I write Ressa Dunmore's 6 words on a notepad before I can sleep, not the accelerant, ask what's in it, because she asked the right question with the only 6 rounds she had left, and it took the rest of us 11 months and 266 warships to finish answering it for her. They built a weapon to find us quietly in a field where no one would be watching. We built the patience to wait it out, learn its shape, and send it home.